Hey, everybody. I hope and pray that you're doing well today as we come to our word from the word. And today, that word is guidance. Guidance. Now, if you get to Genesis 21, you'll see that Abraham is looking for guidance because now he has the promised son, Isaac. And, as the child grows in probably about age 2, 3, somewhere in that range, you have Isaac, 2 or 3 years old, Ishmael, about 16, 17 years old, somewhere in that range. And you have Isaac is now it's this big celebration that he is being weaned. And now it's kind of, that's a big thing. And so now it is this picture of Ishmael saying, you know what, he's making fun of him, kind of scoffing him, persecuting him. In, that's what teenagers do. Part of it, that's what teenagers do. But in the same sense, is because he's the son of the promise, and so now you can see this fight that would be coming. Well, Sarah, now she finally has a child, and now she's like, I don't like that Ishmael could claim to have some of, my inheritance, some of what is should be coming through Isaac alone, coming to Isaac alone, rather. And so she wants to send Ishmael away. Abraham seeks guidance from God. He's like, I don't think that's what I need to do. God says, no, actually, that is what you need to do. You need to send Hagar and Ishmael away, but don't worry about him. I'm going to take care of him. He is going to be blessed as well. So even though they had gone out of their way to essentially disobeying God, taking God's will into their own hands when they invited Hagar in and then had that relationship that brought Ishmael into the world. Now he's like, I don't want to get rid of him. That's still my son. And God says, no, you do need to send them away. Because don't worry, I'm going to take care of him. I'm going to take care of Isaac as well. So he's obedient to that. He sends Hagar and Ishmael away. Now Hagar, she's already left one time, and God told her to come back. And now she's being sent away. He kind of Abraham loads her up, gives them some water, and then they head out. Well, then we'll just pick up to see what happens there and where that word guidance comes in today. So, Genesis 21, verses 15 through 19 today. And the water in the skin was used up, and she placed the boy under one of the shrubs. Then she went and sat down across from him at a distance of about a bow shot, for she said to herself, let me not see the death of the boy. So she sat opposite him and lifted her voice and wept. And God heard the voice of the lad. Then the angel of God called to Hagar out of heaven and said to her, what ails you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard the voice of the lad where he is. Arise, lift up the lad, and hold him with your hand, for I will make him a great nation. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled the skin with water and gave the lad a drink. Now it's a couple of interesting things here for me. One is that now all of a sudden the well is seen where they can be sustained. Now here, as you're wandering in the desert and that type environment where the wilderness where it's not always water's not always readily available. Well, one, the fact that there were plants there, scientists would tell you, well, that means that there's a higher water table there. So they should have been able to find some water if there was vegetation around. But isn't it something that when we are pushed to our limits and when we are pushed to the edge of where we think that, hey, this is it, there is no hope, that we forget to use the senses that God has already given us. So she basically, you think, I know you read it as like she places the boy under the shrub. This has obviously it's taken its toll on them because, he's still a teenager. And now it's like, okay, you just lay here under the shrubs and I'm going over here because I can't even stand to watch you die. Because at this point, it's like, okay, you're just going to lay here and that's where you're going to die. I'm going to go over here so I don't have to hear you screaming out in pain because you're so thirsty. And so he cries out to God. She cries out to God. And I love that the word comes to her and says, God has heard his cries. God has heard what he said. just as he promised that he promised Hagar before, and he promised Abraham that he was going to take care of Ishmael, and that's exactly what he does. But the other thing is that now all of a sudden, now her eyes are open after she hears this, and it's like God says, okay, there's a well of water right there. Now, you think what you want to. I mean, I guess you can have your sanctified imagination in there. Was the well there all along, or did God supernaturally place it there at that moment? Well, I believe the well was already there. I believe that God supernaturally guided them to where the well would be. And that's why that word guidance today. There are many times that we feel like we are wandering when God has actually already, we talked about this the other day when we talked about him orchestrating our steps and guiding our steps. He is guiding the path to which we're to go, even though he was guiding the exit, right? The fact that Ishmael and Hagar were sent away, I'm sure in Hagar's mind, or in both of them, in their mind, they were being sent away from the will of God. But yet they were being actually sent away in the will of God. So when we go in the will of God, just trusting in him, and we cry out to him, even there, he hears our cry and he provides. But the thing is, he didn't wait until they cried out at that moment to provide. He had already provided. So the resources were already there. God guided them to the resources, but prayer opened their eyes to see what God had guided them to. Let me say that again. Prayer opened their eyes to see what God had led them and guided them to. It's an old saying and I think it was actually in a song about prayer, that prayer changes things, but most of all, prayer changes me. And it does. It changes our attitude and it changes our perspective on things. You look at the place your life is in right now, and you may think, and this is not a blanket statement, because sometimes sin has got us where we are. Let's be honest. Sometimes we can't explain why we're there, and we feel like, well, I believe I've been obedient. I'm not perfect, but I feel like I've been obedient and heeding to God's will, and it seems like I'm in a wrong place. Well, have you gone to the Lord in prayer? Because then maybe, just maybe, God will open your eyes to see the resources he has already led you to. They're already there. They're just there waiting. It's the fact that we're blind until we come to him in prayer. It's that we're blind until we lean on him. It's that we cannot see and that we stumble and we fall. Even though he's guiding us in our blindness, but then also guiding us once we open our eyes. Today, I would just simply ask you this. Are you willing to be guided by the God of all creation, the sovereign leader of all things, the God who orders our steps? Will you trust him today? God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.